Different Lifers, we're back.
Hello, everybody.
Another week, another episode.
Yes.
All right, so we did this homeschool / experiment /
Had really nothing to do with homeschool.
Well, I mean,
life is homeschooled.
When you have homeschoolers, everything can be educational, but I mean, I don't know.
Right. You don't have to go to homeschool to raise chicks.
Yeah. Oh, don't tell them
sorry.
the secret. So we got some eggs. And I said
fertile.
to Amy, because they had a rooster. We've kind of gone over
we
that
talked
in the
about
show,
this.
so.
And the only reason we're telling y'all this, Jared said y'all are going to really care. I was not so sure if y'all even care. But we told you we were going to give you an update.
Yeah.
And if we tell you we're going to do something.
So here's the deal.
We're going to do
Okay, so these eggs, I read a story online that says if you put eggs, we don't have an incubator, right? So we could just get one. But I heard that if you put them under a heat lamp, you can actually hatch chicken eggs within 21 days. And I thought, how cool is that? Let's get a heat. We already have a heat lamp, so let's just put these eggs under. And sure enough, within a week under the heat lamp, we could start seeing little things forming. And we took a little video of it.
Yeah.
And then 2 weeks into it, you could see all these bodies forming. You have to keep the temperature.
That was hard because it's been super hot, and
At
I've had
100.
to go outside and keep moving the heat lamp and keep checking the temperature.
Ask you, how was your experience growing these little chicks and their eggs?
Jared called me on the phone more than he's ever called me probably in his life, because all throughout the day,
I love her
he did not
so
call me
much.
to tell me how much he loved me. He called me to say, "Hey, could you go check the temperature?" I'm like in the middle of school,
because it
in
was
the middle
like
of making
105
lunch,
degrees outside without a heat lamp.
and I'm like, okay.
So it was.
So he never calls me anymore now that it's over.
It was a little more stressful for you, for sure. And
Yes.
we probably have vowed not to ever do this again.
Right. We think we're going to get an incubator or make our kids sit on the eggs in intervals.
Because 14 chickens just are not enough, right?
We don't have 14.
Wait, did you say our kids sitting
We
on
can have
eggs?
our kids sit on them in intervals.
Oh, goodness.
We don't have 14. We have 11.
Okay, sorry. 11.
We don't have enough.
They fluctuate all the time with her.
I think we talk too much about chickens. I think this is like
here's the
we
deal.
care more than anybody else.
Here's the deal. We got them to day 21, and we could look inside. And I think on day 20, they're supposed to hatch at 21. By 23, we could see one of them breathing. So we're like, yes, here comes the chicken.
And we kept looking, like waiting for the beak to crack through the eggs. And then
we had a failure to launch.
Like 2 days.
Kind of sad because you get attached to it.
Yeah.
And you've put a lot of effort into this every single day.
Yeah.
Like getting the temperature
So they were
just
like
right.
fully formed chickens, but I don't know how, but they just died.
They didn't.
And so
hatch.
we knew they were dead.
So then the experiment did happen.
Then we dissected the eggs, and it was literally like a chick, balled up, beak, claws, everything.
Which is insane that within 21 days, an egg under a heat lamp
went from that to an actual chick.
Grow a chicken's body. It's just miraculous.
It is.
Honestly.
It is.
And
but I'm sad that we didn't.
Yeah. Our kids took it okay. No tear. You cried a little bit.
I did not. That is false.
Yes, false information.
I will cry, but I will not cry over a chicken.
I was sad though because we put a lot of effort into it. But anyways, we won't do that again because I just don't like the idea of little chicks dying at 21 days and not being hatched.
Right.
So, but that was
our intentions were totally to hatch real chickens.
We had good intentions for sure.
Yes, we did. So let's skirt over into
let's jump in
the meat of today.
Yeah, we last episode we brought in the expert. We brought in the big dog.
We did.
Pastor Adam, the big dog.
Because if we're going to talk about teenagers and what we need to do as parents to help them and be the best parent we could be for them and all the things having to do with teenagers, we got to bring in the guy who knows what he's talking about. So if you missed last episode, go back and just like pause right here and go back. Go west, young man. Go west, young man.
Yes.
Or is it east?
No, that was okay.
Okay.
Catch the first episode, though.
Catch the first episode. Go listen to that. Share it out with your friends, and then come back and meet us right here, whatever minute mark we're at, and finish out with us today. It is going to be so good as we continue to talk with Pastor Adam about teenagers.
Enjoy.
I know your dad says a lot, like your family's not an experiment.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you can't
get
ever
it right
mess
every
up.
time.
Yeah, because you're not going to.
Yeah.
You're just not, and you can't live in fear of like, I have to do this right or else.
Mm-hmm.
No, God's bigger than that.
Yeah.
And He loves our kids more than we love them.
Right.
And we have to remember that. So even in our mess and our failures, and man, I apologize to my kids a lot.
Me too.
I do, and that's
okay.
So
all the
that's
time.
a new thing for parents.
It
I was going to say, I didn't
Yeah.
want to throw any parents under the bus.
We'll throw them under.
Yes.
You know, yeah, that's a new thing.
And I think it helps to just show imperfections in us, but show them like real life for what forgiveness and grace looks like. And it makes the gospel come even more real to them outside of these stories. Like, you know.
And that's huge. So taking those moments for us, so a devotional is great every single night, but we try to take everyday moments.
Yes.
So if we really have this biblical worldview, then everything should relate back and forth to this. So, hey, I messed up. Can you show me grace?
Right.
Yes.
God gave you grace. I've given you grace. Can you now give grace to me? What is grace?
Yeah.
Let's talk about grace. Grace, mercy. Can we talk about the differences between grace and mercy?
Yes.
So now all of a sudden we're having this theological conversation. We're getting into some
and
stuff.
You're not necessarily sitting around in a circle.
Just going,
doing
okay,
it.
everybody sit here. We're going to now listen to me talk. And
This is
you
real
know,
application.
so it's real life application. In the moment, being willing to take 5 extra minutes to go, let's share this, and then hug it out, and then go get your late night ice cream.
Right,
you know?
right.
So,
Yeah. I think grace is something that has been missing in parenthood
it has.
for a long time.
Yeah.
And I think it still is. I'm not saying like everybody's full of grace now, but it's just like we just look at our kids, or we just want perfection. We want but it's like they will mess up. Because they're going to have to navigate this thing. I messed up, you messed up. I'm assuming you messed up.
I'm surprised by that, by the way. But,
yeah, we thought you were perfect. But I mean, But I just feel like grace is missing. And if we can just be real with our kids and just be like, so we had a friend last night that told us that one thing he did with his kids is he would use like a friend as a, how did he word it?
So powerful. It was just, he was just saying he taught his kids right and wrong, but he would also use conversations with his kids talking about his other friends on how to handle things. So, for instance, as his kids were going through high school, he's like, hey, listen, if any of your friends ever getting in trouble, if they ever don't know where to turn, or if they ever get pregnant or anything like that, let them know that they have a place to come to. Okay. They have a safe haven. Like, we will love them. We will take care of them. And indirectly through that, he's sitting there just modeling grace to his kids and showing
also
them,
showing his kid that this, if it's safe for them, it should be safe for you.
Exactly.
Yeah. Not that that's the goal. Not
saying, hey, that's the goal. Go out there and let's
go
go
but the
crazy.
goal, I mean, even with friends, come to my house.
Yes.
I don't always like that.
Yes.
Because it gets wild.
Right.
And we like things a certain way, and
I'm a neat freak.
We are that way.
Yeah.
But I come here. I want this to be a fun place. I want this to be where your friends can hang out, because I can keep an eye on you. And so it's harder to let your kids go sleep over. It's terrifying. I don't do it. Or to let them, even go to a Friday night football game or these things. And, and I see so much.
Right.
I hear so much in my position. I try not to let that make me jaded towards my own kids. But it does make me really cautious, because it's a crazy world, with a lot of crazy out there, and it's scary.
Yeah. So how far so we want to let them fail.
Yeah.
We want to give them freedoms, but what are good boundaries for them? Like, or is it one of those situations like, I mean, I was thinking, and I even wrote it down, like, what is some of the main weaknesses of teenagers? But I mean, every kid
is so different.
Is going to have something different. But like, how do we do boundaries? Because I feel like a good parenting has some sort of boundary.
Yeah.
But how do we do boundaries without being sheltering, without making them live in a bubble? Because I don't want to be that for my kid. Like, I want them to have the boundaries, but be able to experience the world and then come and chat with me about it.
Right. That's tough. So we're in this, like, my son has his learner's permit.
That scares me so
bad. The thought of him driving by himself without me in the car. I don't know if I'm going to let him.
Does he scare you when he's driving and you're in the car, or is he a good driver?
He's actually a good
That's good.
driver. He has scared my wife a couple times.
Yeah.
And then he got over into she said he was over in the bushes. So there was a car coming on the other side. So he moved over a little bit, closer to that side. I think maybe even a tree limb hit. Freaked her out. She, the conversation. He literally got up far enough, pulled over, and said, "I'm done driving." I mean, it got there.
Wow.
But the idea of like, okay, so what does that look like as a 13-year-old, and then what does it look like as a 16-year-old starting to drive, having freedoms, and then an 18-year-old? So I think there has to be like levels to this.
Yeah.
And I don't have an answer necessarily. I don't think every kid should be trusted the same way either, because you know your
That's
kids.
good.
And so is my kid trustworthy or do they lie?
Right.
I mean, let's just call it what it is.
Yeah,
like, are they just a habitual liar? Because some kids just lie about things, and it just shocks me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't even have to lie. Like, that was a silly thing to lie about.
Right.
So that makes me nervous.
Like, if
so
you're going to do it, make it count.
Make it, something that really matters.
Like,
you
it
know,
was like, it didn't matter if that.
Like, did you brush your teeth this morning? Yeah, I did. No, you didn't. Like, and why?
Just say no,
just say,
and it's fine.
not a big
and
deal.
your breath stinks.
Like, because you're going to get in so much trouble.
Yeah.
But you're going to lose all your friends. Over
Right.
But, so like just knowing your kids in that way. So and so here's my rule of thumb, I guess, for me is I hold the reins in super tight early on, and then I let them out a little as you earn trust. I let them out a little bit at a time.
That's good.
Letting the reins out completely and then having to pull them in later is so much more difficult.
Yeah.
So for my house, our house, the rule of thumb is we're going to be a little more strict. So whether that's phones, that's where we're in right now.
Yeah.
It's going to be driving here in a little bit. So he's great. My daughter terrifies me. And so, I think those would be the two biggest things, the driving, just the absolute freedom. Do we set curfews, or do we do it case by case? I never had curfews growing up. My wife did. Be home at 11. I didn't know that. My parents were more case by case. Like, why are you leaving? Where are you going? Who are you hanging out with? Do I know their parents? And it frustrated the mess out of me. Why can't I just be home at 11 like everybody else?
Right.
Yeah.
I get it now. I've called my parents so many times. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I was a mess. Forgive me. Because I get it now.
Yeah.
But there's that grace, and so full circle, my parents are hearing from me saying thank you.
Yes.
And so, again, that's something you have to talk about. If you're a single parent, that looks different. Are you working all the time? Do your kids, can you not supervise 24/7? What does that look like?
Right.
So that changes the dynamic completely too. And, I would assume some single parents are going to listen to this. And what does that look like? I've got to work till 5. They're off of school at 3.
That's
they're
a
already
2-hour
driving,
gap right there.
and maybe even they're taking care of their sibling.
Right. Yeah.
What do you say? So for us, phones, that's a pathway to independence, and driving is a pathway to independence. So how do you navigate those two things? And for us, phones, we started with you only use your phone when you're out.
Okay.
And you need to call us.
Yeah.
And then we set time limits. We got really into this. Like, you only have this much time on your phone a day. Took Safari off. Took all these things off.
Yeah.
I don't even trust you. I trust you 0.
Right. Like, you do not. You don't get it.
You get an hour on your phone.
No innocence
That's
until
it.
proven guilty. With
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
Right?
And an hour on your phone is appropriate too. So hour on the phone. We're at the dinner table. No phones. We're in the car and we're having conversations. No phones. You can't just sit there like this.
Right.
And then every night. And they still, to this day, their phones are on the counter every night. No phones in bedrooms.
Yeah.
No computers in bedrooms. I don't have time to play with that stuff.
Yeah.
We've given them more time.
Yeah.
But honestly, an hour on the phone a day is enough for anybody. These kids, 8-9 hours a day.
Yeah, that's too
That is
much.
I'm not even
crazy.
lying. We
That's
just talked about it a
crazy.
few weeks ago with the high school boys. Like, some of them are 4 to 10 hours.
And the
a
things
day.
that does to your brain,
Yeah.
and just the anxiety and the depression and the dopamine that it just hits you with is just so
and then you're
unhealthy.
wanting that. It's
Exactly.
like a drug. You're
Exactly.
Wanting,
And that's exactly how they're creating it. We
It
all
is.
know that. We
Yeah.
all know that I'm not even techie, but they're doing it in a way that they're triggering things in our mind that is like, I want to keep seeing that. I want to keep going back for more.
Yeah.
It's like a technological drug.
Technological, and then that transfers over into pornography,
Yeah.
into those things, because again, you're just getting these moments of pleasure, moments
Yes.
of
That's it.
the all
Artificial.
Of the, it's artificial. And so I think it was Craig Rochelle. He's a pastor of all the big life church .tv stuff, and he said living for likes but longing for love.
Yeah.
And so the longer we allow likes to displace love, we're never going to find love.
Right.
Wow.
And he says, like, loneliness is okay because it gets us to a place where we're hungry for real relationship, not just fake. But the longer we put it off with like the dopamine hit, whatever it is, it keeps us from connecting with real people. So they're the most connected generation and the most lonely generation. And that's really scary. So with that, though, we have to. And I don't really know how to navigate it. They've just started finally putting out information. They've never had, I guess, enough data or cared enough.
This is all new stuff.
But they're now saying, even the secular world is saying very much like a kid shouldn't have a phone until high school.
Yeah.
At the minimum.
Yeah.
Because of what it does in their development process.
And the secular world is saying that.
In the secular world. The secular world's jumping on the pornography thing too, saying this is not healthy. You're getting a lot of celebrities saying this ruined my life. It messed up my family. I lost everything. It's not worth it. It's not real. It puts expectations where they shouldn't be. I mean, we could go into a whole segment on that. But it's just devastating. Specifically the phone, what it does, the reels are getting shorter and shorter. You watch them, it's 20 seconds, so you're swiping to the next.
And
so
2
your
hours
attention
later,
span
you've been looking at shorts for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And it's like, even when you have a guard, like mentally, like self-control, you're watching things that are appropriate.
Yeah.
Even then, it's just like, you can't handle that. And then you put that on a 13-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 14. They can't handle that because they're going to go... They're going to chase the squirrel. Yeah. Where is it going to lead? Because
and sometimes, like you said, we can't handle it.
Oh,
no.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
And so if we can't, how much more them?
Oh, my goodness.
Right.
And that's been something that helped me a lot. It's that grace conversation again. I know how hard it is for me to change.
Yeah.
So I can't expect somebody else to change in the moment on a dime, whatever. So I have to, as much grace as I give myself, I have to give to others, and specifically our kids.
Right.
And so we jumped it a little early. Israel was a freshman. Camille was an eighth, because it was just easier for us to do 2 phones. We upgraded ours. They got our old ones.
Gotcha.
Set all the stuff. But we watched it with Camille in 8th grade. It really, her mood changed.
Shifted.
It shifted. So we actually took the phone away for extended periods of time, a month, a couple weeks. And you could tell a difference. She even would admit it too. She'd come alive. She was a different person. Wow. And it just blows me away. I don't want to take her from her friends. And that's where it gets really hard. You know, that whole everybody has a phone but me.
I was going to say that. Yeah. My kids already say that. And like some of my younger kids are like, everybody has a phone. I'm first, I know people that you're around that don't. So that's a lie. Number 2, I'm like, and I say to them, because they're like 8, I'm like, I love you too much to give you a phone.
Yeah.
Like,
and they don't get it.
They don't get it. And they'll just kind of just look at me like,
and that's okay.
And I think that's okay as parents to realize, like, I think so much we want them to think we're cool and we're like the cool mom.
Care.
But it's like one day.
I'm over it.
Right. One day they're going to call us. They're going to come over and say, Mom, thank you.
Yeah.
You knew what you were doing.
Yeah,
you
just
knew,
like I
you know
did,
what I mean? It's not just like, we don't have to be the cool mom all the time. The answer is no. And you need to hear that because maybe nobody else is going to say that to you.
Yeah.
You know? I
moved here when I was 26. By the time I hit 30, I had to get over that. In youth ministry specifically, I'm not cool anymore. I don't understand the lingo. I don't know what they're talking about. I don't know the shorthand text, all of that stuff. I have no idea. And so I had to realize and get over myself really quickly. I'm not cool and I don't care.
Yeah.
Because I'm here to teach you, train you, and nobody's going to do it better than I am. Not in a conceited way, ego way, but like
in a calling way.
Yeah.
You are
you
called.
Put a 20-year-old in that room. See, and I don't want to get into that, but you put a 20-year-old in the room, I'd rather have a 30-year-old who's not cool or a 45-year-old who knows the word, has a foundation, and doesn't care about their opinion, is just trying to teach you the word. And so as parents, we want to be relational. We want to be open. We want them to talk, but we don't need to be cool. And I don't think they're looking for that, honestly. I think they're looking for safety.
Because when we try to be cool, that just goes even overboard. They're like, Mom, stop. Like, if I do anything that I may think is like cool, they're like, Mom, stop, don't. So it's like no matter what we do, we're not going to be cool. So just embrace.
Do it anyway, though.
Yes. I totally
embarrass your kids. It's okay.
Totally embarrass them.
Do it.
Yes.
We do. You guys watch Bluey?
Yeah.
Yes.
So we do the Bluey. So we do the dance mode.
Yes.
And Charlie thinks it's hilarious until we actually dance in stores and shopping and all
I
of
will
that.
dance
She's
at
like,
stores all the time, and my kids are like, "Stop, Mom, stop!"
Please.
But they can't get away from me.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, I'm gonna dance, and it's not pretty, but I mean,
and they're gonna appreciate it one day.
Oh,
that you weren't that,
absolutely.
Yeah, they will
for sure.
Absolutely.
So we talked about phones for a second, which brings up the conversation. So when do you? Because obviously phones, there's exposure to so many different crazy things out there, pornography being one. And I've heard of numbers where kids as early as 4, 5, and 6 are getting exposed to pornography. So,
and addicted by 3rd, 4th, 5th. Yeah.
It's just mind blowing. So, I mean, what would you say to any parent out there? Because I've heard so many, I guess, horror stories of how kids, when they were growing up, like our age, were talked about sex and all the opposite sex and everything only when they were 16, 17, and 18 and missed the boat. And missed the boat. Like, I was already deeply into this junk when I was 13.
Like when my parents told me about it.
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, like I had no idea. So like, what would you say to the parents that are listening? Because it's a scary thing, because like you're like, well, they're so innocent. I don't want to ruin their innocence, and I don't want to like.
Maybe they're not.
Yeah, let's go with they're not.
Yeah. So what would you say to that?
Yeah.
I mean, because it is a huge deal.
For us, a big thing with phones was: are they playing sports? Are there times that they're away from me? That I want them? That I'm. So phones, any of those things, to me, I think they can be used for good and bad.
For sure.
To me, a phone itself is morally neutral.
Yeah, of course, yes.
And so what we do is we get so intimidated, and it just blows me away as Christians that we're scared to bring up kids in this world. But then you have other religions, other people in society that are like, have more kids because we're just going to have more. Why do they think that way and we don't? This shouldn't be a positive.
Yes.
Is God not big enough to keep them, to save them, to hold them? And so why are we so timid and terrified? So instead of looking at the phone as a negative, let's look at it as a positive, to go, okay, so when does this is going to be useful to them to contact me?
Yes.
If there's issues, if there's a problem that they have, they need to get picked up, whatever it is, I want them to know at all hours I'm available for you if you need me. So for us, it was when they started doing stuff without us.
Yeah.
When it's flag football or it's, the Pee Wee leagues, whatever it is, you're there, you're at the practices, you don't leave. Those are my kids. But there does come a point where you drop them off and you say, I'll pick them up. And that, I guess, is on the discretion of the parent, because maybe you do that already at 6 years old. I didn't.
Yeah.
But some people do. And if you trust the coach enough, but there's stories out there too.
Yeah.
So when they start doing life separate from you is when you guys started having conversations with
about
them.
Everything.
Yeah.
And so we got them phones at that point with very strict, we took off Safari. You can do that.
Yeah.
You can
okay.
talk, there's tech savvy people. You can take off these things.
Yeah.
They're not allowed to download apps without my permission.
Yeah.
So my son, he's 15, going to be 16 in December. And he's like, Dad, can I get this app on my phone? And I'm like, give me your phone. I'll put it on and make sure it's okay.
Yeah.
Part of it's to save my credit card.
Yes.
But a lot of it is just to save him his eyes. I asked him, Israel, can you look this up? He goes, Dad, you took Safari off my phone.
Yeah.
And so I was like, that would have been really helpful right now.
Yes.
But
yes.
it's worth it.
Yeah.
The other side of the conversations, man, 12 is, I don't know, 11, I don't know.
Yeah.
Every kid's a little different.
Yeah.
I think you have to discern, but there does come a point where it's necessary. I don't want the world teaching my kids sex education.
I've heard of that.
Need to.
There's something that I've heard of called the law of first. And so the first time you hear about something becomes the standard. Yeah. Now, you can reteach it, but it's more difficult because there's a standard. And they were just saying it needs to be parents that are laying the standard of this is what's normal. So, this is what's expected. Yeah. That way, when they hear something different from their friends, like, well, hold on, it pushes up against what you've already explained to them.
Right.
This is what I thought.
Yes.
And now I'm not sure.
Yes.
And it's okay if they question what you told them.
Yes.
But at least they have that as the framework. That's the starting point. I think that's so important. And so for kids, I think it's important that they have it with you because, that's going to affect them the rest of their life. It's going to pour into their marriage.
Yes.
If they have the wrong view of sex from day one, you're starting uphill with them on all of those conversations. And so, for us, my son, we had a car ride, so we didn't have to like look at each other in the eyeballs,
Eyes on the road.
Yeah, he still to this day won't eat Funyuns. He was eating Funyuns, and he's like, no Funyuns.
That is so funny.
But yeah, it has, like, you can't shy away from it.
No.
And it's going to be awkward. It's going to be super awkward.
Right, because their mind, their eyes, and they're just like, what?
And
like
some
when
of
you
them,
explain it to them, they're just like, hold up, what?
Hold on
like their whole world just
You're going to get everything from, I don't want to talk to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're gross. I don't like you. Yes, I can't believe that,
that's what happens.
Right.
Yeah. I'm disgusted. All the way to the other side, you might have a kid or two that goes, tell me more.
Yeah.
I have questions.
Yeah.
You've
like,
just opened up a new world to
what
me.
Did I just
and then you're like,
here?
oh no, yeah. So tell me about this and this and this and how is this? That's my youngest right now. Hey, we haven't talked about any of that with her, but she's the one in the back seat going, so like when I have a baby, is it going to hurt?
Right.
Are they going to give me medicine? I want you there, Mom. So I'm like, why are we talking about having babies?
Right.
Yes.
But she's just that inquisitive, so I'm nervous for my wife. I'm out of that with the girls.
Yes.
I said I got Israel,
Yes.
and so she might be the one that just sits there and goes, tell me more.
Yeah.
And not even shy, bashful about it one bit. I'm curious now. Tell me. But if we're not careful, now I know you have Christian education, but I grew up in public school. So I think that was 5th and 6th grade. They already started talking about it in public school.
Yeah.
And, full pictures, everything.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. I got pulled out, I remember, to be homeschooled for a couple years to bypass that.
Gotcha.
I think they were shocked when my sister went and they did all of that. Yeah.
Wow.
Like,
and she's older than you?
She's old. Yeah.
So then they learned and they took you out?
They took me out and I hated it.
Yeah.
But hindsight, I get it because they wanted to be the first person.
Right.
And they felt I was too young to hear it then.
Sure.
But I mean, it's case by case, kid by kid.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's too early, and I wouldn't be scared of the whole, but they're so innocent and it's coming for them.
Yeah.
The world is coming
if you don't, someone will.
Yeah, and there are people in the world, I mean, that aren't even shy about it anymore. They're like, we're coming for your kids.
Oh,
and they say it black and white.
Main thing they're going after.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Wow. Yeah.
Crazy.
So I think the main thing that we've just been talking about today is just intentionality and connection and spending that time to just hear them out and not just come at your kids with, here's what we do.
Right.
And just,
black and white. Don't question me.
Yes, and there is right and wrong.
Absolutely.
We're not saying
and there should absolutely be consequences because I'm not your friend. I'm your parent, and so I messed up here, but there's still a consequence here. It doesn't mean that I can't discipline you in this matter.
Wow. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But presence matters so much.
That's so good.
Presence matters, being intentional. I think if you're thinking about it, trying your best, again, I say this even to the students, if you're trying your best to follow God's will, He's not up there playing hide and seek with us.
Yeah.
He's not trying to hide your future from you. And I think the same with parents. Like, He's not against you. You're not fighting God in this thing. You're fighting with God.
Yeah.
So if you're trying your best, you think He's going to allow you to mess up and to royally screw this so much. So take the pressure off a little bit. Breathe.
Yeah.
He's for you. And if you're really trying your best, I think you're going to be successful.
Yeah.
And if your kid turns out a different way, we just have to stand on those biblical principles.
Right.
My grandma, before she died, she had been praying for my aunt to get saved. And it was a long time before that happened.
Yep.
She was in her 60s, 70s before that took place.
Right.
The other side, my grandma, so she was a foster kid. Her mom dropped her off the steps of a boys' home, girls' home, left. My grandma ended up taking care of her mom later in life. Can you imagine? Completely forgave her, but her mom was not a believer.
Yeah.
She led her to Christ at 91.
Oh my goodness.
So there's no it's too late.
Yeah.
There never is. God's in complete control of this. And as long as we have that relationship with God, and so we can end, I know we need to. my biggest advice to parents is get close to God.
Yes. Yeah.
First.
You as a parent.
How can you give something that you don't
have?
Exactly.
And the Holy Spirit in those moments, I believe it with all my heart. In those moments, the Holy Spirit's going to whisper things. He's going to share things. He's going to bring back to things. You need to do this in this moment.
Or you need to be quiet in this moment.
Or
stop.
Yeah.
Stop talking. You're exasperating your child. Like
Yeah.
he talks about, literally the whole. And sometimes I'm like,
never done that. By the way, ever.
I've never done it. So and we can end soon, but I have to say something. There was another friend of ours who was saying he was asking some people that raised amazing kids.
Okay.
He was like, "What did you do?" And they were like, "We have no idea. We just prayed a ton."
Yeah.
And
I'm like,
that's it.
We so often just are like, no, but tell me what to do. Tell me what to do. And it's like, there are things to do.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Right.
Like you said, there's no A plus B equals C. There's
but
no
there
formula.
are so many good things we can do. We can be intentional. We can bring them to church. We can make sure they're involved.
Ask
on
lots
and on
of
and on
questions,
and on.
all of that.
But like, are we just praying and calling out to God and claiming God's promises over our children? And I feel like that's where we have to, like you said, just hold them. Like we have to hold them in our hands, and we have to say, God, they're yours.
Yeah.
And I did the best I could, and I messed up so many times. But like, God, they're yours. Why are you laughing?
Well, we were talking to our friends last night, and they're like, listen, get over yourself. You're going to damage your kids one way or another. Just get over it.
Get over, like, loosen up. Don't be so, don't.
Get out of the way.
Get out of the way a little bit.
I know. I'm like, there's certain things, and I'm like, I don't want to ruin that.
But it is hard because they're just on loan to us, and we have to remember that. And they're ultimately God's, not ours, and that changes your perspective on
Absolutely.
Right. But it's so hard because you love them so much, and you're just like, and like when you have a relationship with the Lord, and you're just like, He's so good, He's so amazing. Like you want that, you want them to understand it, and you're just kind of like, come on. But they can't get. I mean, they can see how you live and how you worship and how you pray and do all those things. But until they have that encounter with the Lord, you can't just like push that on them and force it.
Yeah.
You just keep fostering it. So we just got to pray.
That's good.
Yeah, that's
good.
big. That's huge. Yep.
Well, Adam, thanks for coming on here with us, man.
Thank
We so
you.
appreciate that. And this was so good.
It was good.
So good.
There's so much more to talk about, though.
Yes.
I feel like
a lot
there's
more.
so many more
And that's
things.
okay.
That is
That's
okay.
okay.
That's okay.
All right, man. Well, we will we'll sign off and tell you guys. We'll see you later. See you next week.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.